So you can find quite a lot of bizarre, oftentimes ridiculous and even inexplicable things when playing a game like No Man's Sky. Many of these will make you question Hello Games' decisions, some of them might even give you unexpected gameplay advantages, while others will make you wonder what the whole purpose of your journey actually is in the grand scheme of things. And in this video we'll go over some of these really interesting features, facts and discoveries. Hopefully some of them will even spice things up for you in your next gameplay. Now before jumping in, I want to give a huge shout out to Displate for sponsoring today's video. If you don't know what Displate is, they basically sell on-demand printed metal posters and they actually let me choose a few designs just for you guys. Like, I'm really impressed with the overall quality, the unboxing especially is a whole experience in itself, but the highlights are definitely those posters. The first one that I picked obviously had to be this really cool Ghost of Tsushima inspired mask design, which also came in signed by the artist that created it. These are all fully made out of metal, by the way, and the package also includes the magnets needed for a very easy wall installation. But there's tons of other designs on their official website that you can find, over 1.4 million from artists all around the world, and yeah, you can pretty much find anything from any genre like video games, sports, movies, cars, even brands you know and love like Star Wars and the Marvel's universe. So definitely go ahead and check Displate out using the links down below, and if you do so right now you can get a 26% discount when purchasing 1 or 2 Displates and a 36% discount when purchasing 3 or more. And I'll give another huge shout out to Displate for sponsoring this video. Now nothing screams absurd more than literally every being in this game being for some reason capable of laying eggs, even the ones that probably shouldn't. But there's an even more disturbing fact about this, and that's the fact that you can quite literally pump a companion egg so full with chemicals that it will start spawning the most ridiculous creature you can imagine, completely dwarfing anything you might have on you, including your very own ship. Now there's many ways to alter a way a creature looks and behaves once it hatches, but the one that we will focus on today is going to be the growth hormone section, specifically the types that can increase your pet's size. So in this experiment we've used oxygen, but really anything that can increase it works, including gold for example. And what you're looking at is to inject growth hormones about 10 or 20 times in the same egg until it can't take it anymore. You'll know that you've reached the limit when the green increased indicator changes to a gray inherited, or you know, when the literal egg is now significantly larger than the parent that laid it in the first place, or when the creature that spawned from it was so large that it completely dwarfed your entire base, or if you're like me, when it inexplicably and accidentally ran into outer space because, you know, for some reason the planet it's been on simply couldn't contain it any longer. And I'm not even kidding, like, this is a huge gameplay advantage that a lot of people overlook. You can essentially turn a regular sized beetle into a humongous unit like this that will traverse the planets almost as fast as a regular old spaceship without consuming any fuel in the process. And did I mention that it also looks humongous, or that you can do this to literally every other being out there to the point that everybody else around you will question why you're even playing this game in the first place. Now coming up at number 2, there is one inexplicable event that's been in the game for a very long time. I'm pretty sure that the first encounter like this is as old as the game itself, but one of the most intriguing things that you can find in No Man's Sky is a literal planet impact, as in 2 planets literally colliding and creating something like this. Now these events are extremely rare, and chances are that you could go through an entire playthrough without ever seeing something like this, but when it finally happens, it just looks overall amazing. This, ladies and gents, is what happens when 2 planets in a system spawn too close to one another, and I'm pretty sure that Hello Games didn't fully intend for this to happen because the entire event is very glitchy and you could literally lose your entire save file if you're not being careful with this. Now there's a few things that you will notice when you stumble upon such an event. The first one is that that, well, a smaller planet will usually spawn partially inside of a slightly bigger planet, meaning that there's going to be a junction point or a point where both of these planets will actually touch, giving you the possibility to visit that place both on foot as well as via your starship. Another thing about this is that it becomes very glitchy, to the point that if you're staying on one of these planets and immediately like check the other planet, you will notice that only one of them will render in full time. The other one will just be a blurry mess of LODs that will kinda resemble a planet from afar, but in this case, since it's so glitchy, you can see it from up close, making it pretty immersion breaking. Still very cool though, and it still gives you the possibility to literally jump from one planet to another using just your jetpack. Once you do that, the game considers you just switched planets, case in which it will start loading all of the assets right in front of you. Other strange occurrences that I've noticed is the possibility for, well, a gravity shift sort of event to happen, where you kind of get pulled from the gravity of the second planet if you're staying too close to the junction point, and also the possibility for your character to be kind of sucked in under the terrain because of the glitchiness, which would mean you would be stuck in an indefinite fall through the core of one of these planets, which, as I've said, could ruin even your save file if the glitch still happens after you reload it. That's why I suggest making a manual save file on a different planet or even a different system prior to such an event. Now, as I've said, there's plenty other mysteries you will be able to find in the game, and the next one might actually be tied in to whatever big update Hello Games is planning next, possibly 4.0 or something different, but these are going to be the abandoned space stations, which are one of those inexplicable mysteries that still have an ongoing arc as early as the current expedition number 3. Finding one of these systems isn't too tricky. All you need is a conflict and an economy scanner instead, and checking out for any systems with low or non-existent economies and a conflict level which is marked by the data unavailable mark. Otherwise, you won't even know that you are inside an abandoned system or that you're about to find one until you actually reached it in the first place. Once you're there, you're going to notice a pretty run-down kind of space station that looks and functions very different from the normal ones you typically find in your journeys. On one side, the entryway will flicker from the usual blue light to a red-orange light instead, and the outside is also starting to feature heavy damage, likely indicating a prior fight or just the lack of maintenance from its now gone inhabitants. On the inside, it also features the pre-next layout with only 2 simple lateral entryways, likely indicating that whatever event made all of these inhabitants leave likely occurred prior to the next update, which is ultimately the one that added the layout we are familiar with today. Also, it's a really nice throwback at how space stations used to look back in the old days before all of these flashy updates. Now, remaining rooms also feature the horrific alien corruption, likely indicating that whatever this event is, it's likely tied to the alien horrors that you can find infecting other structures on planet surfaces. All in all, there's some cool little tidbits and lore elements in there waiting for you if you carry an Atlas Pass for the secret doors, but otherwise an abandoned system will no longer feature any sentient life whatsoever. This includes trading post NPCs, merchants, or even ships that will completely stop spawning in a system that is marked as abandoned. Even settlement charts will give you an error when you're trying to find remaining alien life, so just tread carefully and make sure you still have an intact ship and a good hyperdrive before escaping such a place. Now, of course, it doesn't mean that all of these inexplicable events should not have a gameplay impact, and the next one is even more interesting as it is rare, and that's the possibility for certain systems in the game to spawn an overwhelming number of max rank upgrades for certain parts of your inventory. One such system, of which you can see the coordinates down below, is of course the CTF ally system, which has been discovered by, well, I don't really know the original person since the names are different on different platforms, at least for me personally, but a cool thing about this is that its space station multi-tool vendor literally sells you max rank upgrade modules for every single piece of technology. This includes the scatter blasters, the plasma launchers, even the mining beam or the scanners, this NPC right here has it all. So what you can do is to use this at your advantage to buy them all up, then do a save file and then reload the same save file, and the same NPC will restash its entire stock, and you can go ahead and buy these again until you get all of the upgrades needed to fully max out your multi-tool. Kinda wish we had some of these for the exocrafts as well, since I'm kinda in a pickle with those as well. And this, ladies and gents, brings us to the final piece on the list, which is not really something inexplicable or curious or absurd. It's just something that you should probably know, which is the possibility of you actually having your very own radio in No Man's Sky, both on foot when exploring planets as well as in your ship or other vehicles when exploring the outer space. And that's of course using the byte beat mechanic in the quick access menu right here onto the left side of it. It actually gives you the possibility to play your own custom tracks, other players' tracks, or the ones created by Hello Games themselves. You can even create whole playlists if you want to just have these byte beat, well, beats playing in the background as you're playing. A cool thing about this is that you can literally use somebody else's track, as in, for example, you could travel to somebody else's bases, and let's say the same player also has a cool track playing behind the scenes that might be a little bit too complex for you, like how it is in my case. In this case, what you can do is simply save that track in your custom track list and then simply add it to the playlist, and congratulations, you can now play it from literally any corner of the galaxy. Otherwise, if you're a little bit more versed than I am with the byte beat machine, you can go ahead and create your own track and also add it to the same playlist and play these tunes as you, well, just travel and do whatever you do in No Man's Sky. All in all, there's many other secrets that I have left and I'm gonna cover them in different videos, but in the meantime I think that this is a pretty nice selection. As always, let me know down below what is your most inexplicable, absurd, or really strange fact that you know or encountered in No Man's Sky, and I'll see you guys in the next video.